Good morning from Marks Tey station, where I only have 4 minutes to change to the Gainsborough Line, a little branch to Sudbury that used to be so much more, and I've only travelled on this line once before 8 years ago, and it is potentially this line that began the journey in attempting to visit every single station in the country. And the first station on this line is Chappel and Wakes Colne, which is an exciting start because, as this old school sign suggests, you can alight here for the East Anglian Railway Museum. So only one platform at the station is in use nowadays. The other one is taken up by an old train that is part of the museum. And I remember the last time I was here, I could actually go in this signal box here, which was pretty cool. Even without actually visiting the museum itself, this is a delightful station to wait at for a train. I'm a big fan of all the old signs and some of the old rooms that you can get in as well, such as the station master's office back there, complete with fireplace and a Great Eastern Railway logo. I was actually going to start heading out of the station, but I'm glad I walked down the platform quickly just to get a closer look at some of the other carriages here. A rail freight one and an intercity carriage as well in the classic British Rail blue colours. I can actually spot a Network Southeast livery train over there, which is quite fitting because I remember there being a Network Southeast sign right here beside this old steam locomotive outside of the station, but it's gone now. Oh no, I guess it would have been down here on the road, but even then they've replaced it anyways, and I probably should have walked down this road, so let's rectify that. And that's because just south of the station lies the impressive Chappel Viaduct. How did I not come to see this last time? I have seen that this is recorded as being the second largest brick sculpture in England after Battersea Power Station in London, and it is actually flowing over the River Colne here. I'm sure we'll see this again on today's walk. Okay, this is particularly cool. I love the vines growing on this arch of the viaduct and how it looks all overgrown in there. Makes it feel like I'm in some sort of urban jungle. I've noticed as well, and this is a classic on my walks, there's even some war defence structures around here, including a pillbox at the base of the viaduct. Oh my lord, it just keeps going. I'm going to end up getting really distracted with this, like I did with the Railway Museum last time I was here. Okay, it was worth coming down to this end of the viaduct alone, just for this shot, straight through all the arches. That's amazing. I gotta move quickly though, just because the train's gonna come back from Sudbury in a moment, and I wanna get a shot of it going over the viaduct. Okay, so the Gainsborough Line. Let's talk about it, because it first opened in 1849 as far as Sudbury, much like how it operates now. But in 1865, it was extended all the way through to Cambridge. How fantastic of a connection would that be nowadays? And I think it was known as the Stour Valley Railway at that time. The entire line was scheduled to close as part of the Beeching Cut in 1967, including the viaduct, but it was saved as far as Sudbury yet again. Now, what did I mean when I said that it was this line that began the journey to visiting every station? Well, the first trip I specifically made out of London to visit a specific station was Shippy Hill in 2017, because at the time it was the least used in the country. A few months later, I wanted to visit what was the least used station in just the county of Essex, which was White Notley on the Braintree branch, which similarly used to run a lot further, I think to Bishop Stortford, but it also no longer does that anymore. But because I liked how I did a walk to Shoopy Hill, I did the same thing to White Notley from the end of the line and by the other stops on the line. So I've not visited them ones yet. And because I had like a newfound appreciation for Greater Anglia branch lines, I really wanted to do the Sudbury line next. So in the summer of 2018, I came here, but it's almost too long of a branch to do a walk back through the stations. So I just visited them separately and spent an hour at both Bures and Chappel and Wakes Colne. So this was really the first time where I visited multiple stations and completely ticked off a line, and that has now evolved into doing that for every other line in the country. So because it's been so long, it's been 8 years, I wanted to come back and do a proper exploration around some of the stations now and do a proper walk between them. And I've picked one from the Saturday Walkers Club website that begins here at Chappel and Wakes Colne and heads to the next stop at Bures. So as always with these sorts of walks, I will leave a link to the website in the description below so you can follow along with the walk by using the map. So let's head off. It's fantastic to see a village sign here for Wakes Colne as well. If there's 3 things about me, I love an old station sign, I love a good viaduct, and I love a good village sign as well. I mean, even if we didn't have the viaduct right at the beginning, this is a great way to start the walk. Some beautiful countryside, a pond here as well. Maybe the water is being fed from the River Colne here. Who knows? Oh, there's some stunning meadows here. I'm loving this walk already. And the footpaths so far have been quite well signed. I've noticed that we are on a Colne Valley path, but we're actually heading in here, so we're coming off of it. This feels a lot more rural than what I was expecting. I haven't even seen any other walkers yet. It's nice to have some woodland here, purely just to get some shade as well, because it is quite hot out in the fields. And this is a beautiful avenue of trees. I'm loving this. I'm questioning whether I'm meant to be over in that field, although I don't think that's the case, only because there's not really much of a path across this one. At least I'm at the base of a pylon though, and that's pretty cool. See, I was praising the public footpath signs and then they all but disappeared. I've got one here, but these are super faded, and this isn't the public footpath on my map. That gate down there was locked, so I climbed over it, but now I've realised that actually I think the path I was on, which wasn't really a path, should have brought me out to the other side of that field, and then I would cross over this field and onto the path here. But I'm just kind of cutting over this field anyways now. I have had to share this field with some sheep, but I've reached a point where I think I was meant to come out from. So I am back onto the footpath now. And all of a sudden, I am just in an urban environment. I'm seeing the River Colne again, which just like Wakes Colne gives its name to the next settlement. And that place is White Colne, which is marked by another brilliant village sign here. I almost thought they were spelling it without the E then, but then I realised that's just what an E looks like on this sign. I've decided to take a little break on the village green here, and I'll level with you. I was a little stressed out this morning because I planned to do this walk a few weeks ago, but there was a trackside fire at Stratford which closed down all the trains, so I unfortunately had to cancel on this trip. Ironically, I was going to head somewhere different today, but because there was damage to the overhead electric wires, all the trains were cancelled. But I really didn't want to completely give up on another trip, so I changed my plans literally last second and headed out here instead. The only problem with that is that there was a tube closure due to engineering works, so I had to alter my journey, And as soon as that begun, another incident occurred which completely shut down the line. I was this close to giving up and heading home, but I had already paid for my ticket, and earlier this year they changed the rules so you can no longer get a refund on the day of travel if you choose not to, in case there's any disruption or anything. And I knew they weren't going to be nice and lenient and let me use that ticket for tomorrow instead. So I ended up having to walk down and get a tube replacement bus, which at this point was now very busy, and I've ultimately ended up coming out here an hour later than I was expecting, which is a shame, but I'm really glad that I persevered and I did manage to finally make it out here. Seeing the viaduct alone this morning was more than enough for me. Everything now is just like a bonus and I'm really enjoying it. So yes, I'm much happier than I was a few hours ago. Let's carry on with the walk. I think the SWC route at this point would actually follow a part of the River Colne, but I've instead come off of it because I want to walk a disused railway instead. Yes, White Colne used to have a station. The thing is, this sign looks to be even in the style of an old railway sign. So White Colne would have sat on a railway line to Halstead that opened in 1860 and would have branched off of Chappel and Wakes Colne. I think I actually forgot to mention earlier that the Wakes Colne part of that name was only added on in 1914. Beyond Halstead, this line would have actually reconnected with the Gainsborough line after Sudbury, but it completely closed in 1962. So it looks as if we actually have a closure on the old railway here. There's a rather significant detour. Don't really fancy doing that. Wait, 9th of December? You've not repaired the bridge since then? It's not like the bridge doesn't exist. I could probably walk across it and be safe. It is passing over the River Colne. I did think maybe I can kind of skirt along the edge of it here, but some people have actually built a little crossing over the River Colne. I can do that. Power to the people. When they don't repair a bridge, just make one yourself. This works really well. Perfect little handle there as well to hold on to. That works nicely. So I didn't actually get that much of the disused railway to walk. I'm rejoining the SWC route here after its journey alongside the River Colne and through a golf course, and the railway is blocked at this point. Beyond it, I think you have a bit of an industrial area which obliterates the next station on the line, so there's no remains to really see. But from here, I'm beginning to loop back around through the countryside towards the still existing railway, the Gainsborough Line. Oh, well, I was not expecting such sludge here, considering it's been hot for about 9 years now. You don't usually see this. I think there's some sort of maybe little brook passing through. Again, power to the people. They've put little branches and stuff around, which gets me across it nicely. They love to use the name of the river in places around here, such as Earls Colne, but I'm actually in Colne Engain here, which seems like a nice enough little place. That was a slightly tricky walk though, up the road, but I guess that's because I'm ascending from the Colne Valley now. The rest of the walk is going to be quite the discovery, because I'm not sure if there's anything really that notable until we get back to the railway. It might just be some nice fields and countryside. And brilliantly, I can complete the collection of my little trio of Colne villages today, as Colne Engain also has a village sign. Like the plant pots here. At least there's something notable on this second half of the walk, so it's not just arbitrary countryside paths the entire time. We got quite the sizable lake here, much bigger than the other two we saw earlier. I'd like to say that we're going to get a nice sizable chunk of it to walk alongside, but it seems like it's mostly a private fishing lake, so I think I actually head somewhere in there. Oh, well, this field is delightful. I feel it's not often you get one coloured purple. Or actually, it's more, the stems are more purple. The actual plant themselves is, I would have said a dark blue, but maybe even a violet, I would describe that as. This is also something I don't think you come across very often. Pigs. It's cool to see them. Oh, hello. You're the parent. What are you doing? There's loads of them as well. And they just don't care. Like, they don't acknowledge your existence at all. Sheep would, horses would, cows would. Nah, pigs really don't care at all. I feel like I haven't seen anybody in a long time now. This has been a very rural countryside walk. This might be one of the most charming little footpath signs I've ever seen. Huh, what have we got over here? This looks like an abandoned property. Half of the roof is gone. Oh, there's a little brook separating it. Doesn't know there's much to it, to be honest. The last few miles of this walk have just felt very isolating. Like, perhaps I'm not in the most middle of nowhere location, but I feel like some of those places which fit that bill, you will usually find a lot of people out walking in them. Like spots in the Peak District, for example. But it's when you do walks like this where it truly feels like you're alone. I don't know how else to describe it apart from it being one of the most uncanny sections of any walk I've done. I feel like I'm roaming the earth right now, like no one can stop me. It's just so bizarre. And then all of a sudden you are back into civilization as you emerge out into Bures. And there's not much here because most of the town is on the other side. I think the station is literally right over there. And here we are, Bures Station. And I remember it so well because it has a nice little garden area here. I remember waiting on the bench rather than up there on the platform. I think I remember the heritage sign here. I don't quite recall that actually. Oh yeah, I'm surprised I've not already mentioned the fact that the Gainsborough Line is named as such after Thomas Gainsborough, who lived at the end of the line nowadays at Sudbury. He was a famous painter back in the 18th century. Apart from the delightful little garden area, the other notable feature of Bures, which I remember, is the little waiting hut here. Oh, no admittance? Really? I'm sure people go in here anyways. Oh, they still got the old posters. I love that. Okay, first of all, love the photos of the trains in the snow. Even at sunset. Royal Border Bridge, Berwick upon Tweed. Been there, crossed that, love it. Great to see a London Underground one as well. Regent's Park. You know, I almost want to say that I prefer Bures to Chappel and Wakes Colne, because there, with the presence of the Railway Museum, you don't quite get the feeling of isolation that you get here. And it's not the most basic single platform station in the world. There's actually some nice parts to it. And in fact, last time I was here, it was actually a request stop, because perhaps it's just not that well used. But that didn't last for very long, only from December 2017 to May 2019. And even then, it was just the off-peak trains that you had to request. No Greater Anglia station anymore is a request stop. Unfortunately though, Sudbury, right at the end, is one of them boring single platform stations, and it might be partly due to the fact that it's the third station in Sudbury. I think once the line had been cut back to there, a new one had been built, and then in 1991, when they built a leisure centre, they slightly shifted it again. So yeah, it's not the most interesting, and it actually reminds me a lot of Marlow at the end of that line. I am going to go to the end of the line quickly. It only waits there 5 minutes before the train heads back. So I'm not going to get to really explore Sudbury. So we're definitely going to have to do that another day. This is almost a part 1 in 3 because there is another SWC walk from here at Bures to Sudbury. And then I would also like to see what has become of the railway beyond Sudbury. So we're definitely going to do that one day, because I'm going to need to explore Sudbury at some point. The train actually left Marks Tey late. I presume it's so a delayed train, you know, you can make the connection to this one in time rather than wait an hour. So I feel like we're leaving even earlier than usual. It would only have about 5 minutes here before turning back. And I forgot to say that when Sudbury became a single platform station, its footbridge was actually moved to the East Anglian Railway Museum.
Welcome to this service for Marks Tey. We will be calling at Bures, Chappel and Wakes Colne, and Marks Tey.
I thought it was Bures. And although I have visited every station on this line before, I'm still going to put this in the visiting every station playlist, because I feel like it just makes sense to do so if I have featured every station in the video today, all 4 on the line between Marks Tey and Sudbury. I am doing a lot of videos at the moment where I revisit places which I have been to before, purely to get photos of the station signs which I might have missed the first time around. In this case, I never got one for Marks Tey, but I also wanted better ones of the stations on this line. And I've noticed that the bigger, older Greater Anglia signs that say "Welcome to this station" have now completely gone on this line to be replaced by the ones that have a little bit of the red Greater Anglia colour added to them. And despite the universe trying its best efforts to stop me coming back to this line, I'm really glad that I've finally managed to do so 8 years later. I'll try not to leave it as long for when we come back and do a Sudbury walk. I'm also just glad I had enough time to chill here. I think what's really important to really determine whether a station is good or not is whether it's a nice one to wait at. This definitely is, with this bench and a little garden here away from the platform. And because you're not constantly being spammed with announcements, that gets really irritating. Yeah, Bures is a good one. So thank you for coming along with me on that walk. I will be doing other videos soon, revisiting places I've been to before, so the actual station count of visiting new stations will slow down a bit, but I will still try and get some new ones in before the end of the summer. Some exciting adventures coming up. I'm really looking forward to them. Subscribe so you don't miss them. So because of the delay, I once again had a 4-minute change at Marks Tey, which I've missed. At least it gives me a little bit more time to check out the station now. You know, I did look at doing a Marks Tey walk, but there's just main roads outside of the station. It doesn't seem like there's anything interesting, so it doesn't even feel like it's worth my time. The station building, by the way, is giving me very strong vibes of Waltham Cross.